The ozone should be fucking gone then, right? Talk about the weather, climate change. If we go back to the early 2000s into 09, 2010 was the last time we had like huge snowstorm anywhere around here. Feet of snow that just didn't melt for what seemed like months and months. We were out snowboarding every day, skiing, whatever you do, snow skating. You know, we'd have snow from Thanksgiving until April. You could be out on the mountain skiing, and now it's like New Year's to February, sometimes into March. I mean, that's kind of crazy to me. But we always had a theory, and you know, it started before I was in that industry, before I was snowboarding, and that was that the season was shifting. We'd have snow till like the end of April, and they wouldn't let you out on the mountain because, like at the ski resort, because they didn't have insurance. And so every year the season has started a little later, a little later, a little later. It ended up getting shorter instead of, you know, staying the same. So I'm just talking about the last 20 years. Okay, I'm not going back farther than that. I'm not talking hundreds of years. Even here where I live now, when I was a kid, 25 years ago maybe, there was snow here. I mean, we would go sledding, and you know, we'd go snowboarding on the street. We'd go up to the college town, snowboard on the street quite a bit. You know, I didn't even pay to go to the ski resort, and that's just how it was. And even back then, it seemed like the season was getting shorter and shorter. So I moved to the little tiny ski town, and then I got to go a lot more. Literally from November through April, you could get out there. That was reality. And you know, somewhere around April 14th or April 15th, they'd have to close ski resort for insurance reasons. We would have like a big party in the park and have like a barbecue out there on one of the big jumps, that kind of thing. It kind of ended the season, and everybody's getting their bikes out, their kayak, all the other hippie bullshit. It was a good time. Even into 2008, January and February was still like, up there we would get just feet on feet on feet of snow. And I remember the one year, the snow in my driveway was literally up above my head. I worked on cars back then. I still do. We would have to go out there and shovel the driveway every fucking day. It sucked. What I'm getting at is maybe climate change, and this is all related. People, even the elites of that town that owned the big businesses that had millions of dollars, the fat cats, they control everything just in that small town. I mean, I think the year-round population is somewhere around 1,500 people there. But these rich fucks control everything. You can't put in a fucking McDonald's. You can't put in a Chipotle. Everything had to be, you know, if something like that was gonna go in, the only people that were allowed to do it were the people that owned the ski resort or the ski shop. It didn't matter how much land or money you had, you couldn't put a business in there unless it was some small local thing selling crafts, crap, whatever. And so I lived with this girl, and her parents were part of this whole circle, okay? Just stupid fucking rich. And now her dad, he's an awesome guy, but her mom is just fucking awful. Now they claim to be some kind of witches, sorcerers. They could make it snow, all this and that, and it sounds insane, but is it? They even said, these people that owned the resort, they said they could make it rain, they could make it snow, they could make it stop raining, and they had told us for years. Now this isn't just like these women would just tell anyone this stuff. I was, you know, They're trying to make me part of this group. They wanted me to be on the inside. So they would tell me they had pilots that could go up and seed the clouds. Crazy shit. Every 3-day weekend, you know, President's Weekend, MLK, your big winter holidays. Dude, we'd get so much fucking snow, you couldn't get around up there. It was insane. And the place would just be packed. Because, you know, everybody's, you know, oh, we got to go get the fresh pow, man. Fresh pow. Everybody's there. Even the locals. Locals fucking hate going on holidays. But you rain down some fucking snow at a ski resort, people are going to show up. Even if you only get a foot or two. It's nuts. Because everybody wants that fresh, real snow. Now, they can make snow. They put enzymes in the water to make it freeze faster and at a higher temperature. The thing is, it just turns into sleet. It's not really snow, but you can use that. They can start, quote, making snow when it's like 35, 40 degrees. They can start dumping it on the ground. It cools the ground off, and then the ground turns to ice. They've got their start. As soon as it snows a ½ inch, they can open up, because you don't need a 10-foot base like you would think. As long as you've got these enzymes in the water, they're supposed to put like a drop in there, and they're out there with like 50-pound bags of it, dumping it into the lake. Because imagine that they got permission to use the water out of the lake, the nearby lake, to make their snow. So they didn't have to keep paying for like the city water or whatever. They didn't have to keep putting in wells. Because I mean, imagine how much water it is to fill up, well, to cover a mountain, a ski resort. So, you know, the environmental people and everybody kept wanting to stop them from using the lake. But of course, these people control everything. Somehow they managed to get over on them. And then they're, you know, putting these enzymes in the water. I mean, they call them enzymes. I don't know what it really is. I'd have to look, and that's not a conspiracy. It's what they do. I've hung out with people that all they do is go around the world making snow at ski resorts. Oh, it's a real thing. But they can go up and fucking seed the clouds with this shit. It's what they say they do. I don't know. So what I'm getting at is these people can control the weather. If this small town with millionaires could manage to get all this snow, even when it's 40 degrees out, I promise you they can control the weather. Climate change isn't from the exhaust on your car. These people manipulating the weather for their own gains. And it's not just ski resorts. You know, in Dubai, they have like TV commercials about it and how they can make it rain. It rained there for something like 2 weeks straight just recently. And they said that, you know, it was their fault. They thought, you know, they tried to control it and seeding the clouds to make it rain, and they fucked up. You know, it just wouldn't stop fucking raining for weeks in Dubai. I'm saying Dubai. I'm pretty sure it's Dubai. If I'm wrong, just let me know. You might think, well, if they can do this, how come your season has gotten so much shorter, your ski season? What if they've been manipulating it so long, they've just got it fucked up? Just like they did in Dubai. They fucked it up. They ruined it. I mean, you can't tell me there are not repercussions for doing this, because when it happens naturally and you get rain, you know, it happens in a timely manner. It happens the way that it's supposed to happen. There's a balance to it, a harmony. You know, everything happens for a reason. Everything is intertangled. It's like the butterfly effect. It's the same thing, the interdimensional beings. Everything's holistic and intertangled. And when you start fucking with it, everything gets all out of whack. Some kind of strange animal making strange noises. Oh, fuck. So they manipulate, you know, and maybe these people, they call themselves witches or whatever as sort of a joke, because they can do shit that normal people don't think is possible. Maybe they aren't witches in the traditional sense. You know, maybe it's all connected. Lizard people and David Icke's theories on all that. Maybe it's all metaphorical, and these people just manipulate so much that regular people can't even comprehend it, and so it turns into their little inside joke, and then people just run with it. Maybe climate change is real. Not Israel. Maybe it's real. It's not your cars. It's just the elites fucking with everything, man. Talk about cars from the 90s getting 60 miles per gallon. I don't really want to get into the people making cars run on water and all that stuff. I think most of that's bullshit. Maybe there's some little bits of truth to it, and I've heard reasons and theories on why and how it could work, and not just turning water into hydrogen, using water as like basically an actual fuel source or an energy source, however you want to look at that. My whole life I've worked on cars. I tuned cars professionally, made a lot of money doing it, making engines run better using a laptop, using parts, changing parts. Gotten my own cars that shouldn't get good mileage. I've gotten them up to 30, 40, even 50 miles per gallon. There's trade-offs for all of it. Some positive, some negative. I just don't think anybody's making an internal combustion engine run on water. Not just water. The other thing, I forget where I was going with this. So yeah, in the 90s, maybe some in the early 2000s, a lot of cars, Hondas had lean burn cylinder heads, can safely run 16 AFR, and that's kind of where they make their peak performance. They would get, anywhere from 30, 60 miles per gallon. And that was in the 90s. They've come out with all these fairly crazy advancements. In the 90s, I remember talking about direct injection and how awesome it was going to be, and, firing the fuel directly into the combustion chamber, and how much you could do with that, because you could play with your injection timing at that point and just spray exactly what you need instead of enough fuel like a carburetor or standard multi-port fuel injection. They put extra fuel. You literally have to use extra fuel to get everything coated and wet so that the fuel doesn't vaporize and evaporate as soon as you shoot it in there. It takes a good bit more fuel. So fast forward 20 years, well, almost 25 years now, more than that. So almost 30 years, we just now finally have direct injection, mainstream. It's on just about all the cars, and they get shit mileage. Some of these cars are getting 15, 20 miles per gallon, and you're thinking, well, why? That doesn't make sense. Well, for one, they've made them make all the cars heavier and heavier and heavier. So the cars are making more power. They're slower. Well, slower is relative. Most of your normal cars are still faster than your normal cars from the 90s, but you would think they would have gotten quicker and faster and make more power per liter and whatnot. They really aren't doing that much better. And so these EPA regulations, what in the fuck is that? I'm thinking it's a little baby porcupine. Okay, so back to the EPA nonsense. The EPA forces you, well, not you, the auto manufacturers put all these devices on your car that rob you of power. And so then in turn, now you gotta use more fuel, move less air, make less power, have a slower fucking car because of climate change. So, we had cars making 60 miles to the gallon in the 90s. And now they're making 20 at best. And it's like, it doesn't make sense. So using more gas, more oil, more fossil fuels is somehow better. One of the biggest things is they put a bunch of systems on your car to use up unburned fuel, but it doesn't use it in the engine. No, it runs the catalytic converter through the exhaust and gets burned off there. And so you have to heat this catalytic converter up hot enough to basically, it's not really igniting the fuel, but burn the fuel off in the exhaust. And then on startup, you need extra fuel to get going because the engine's cold. They'll put these little air pumps with little tiny 1/4 inch 6mm hole with a pump that sucks the exhaust through this little 6mm hole and pumps it back into your intake. So now your exhaust is running through your intake with like no oxygen in it, making the car just run even more rich than it needs to. And then you got a catalytic converter that heats up and tries to burn the excess off. Now your exhaust gas recirculation system generally turns off within like 30 seconds You might hear when you start your car, it gets that like jet taking off sound. It goes, that's your exhaust gas recirculation pump, which is using electricity to pump that exhaust back into your intake where it definitely does not need to be. All because they're worried about excess fuel getting out the tailpipe. We're not worried about getting better mileage and having less leftover fuel that way. No. Or unburnt fuel that way where you're just going to burn it off in the exhaust. And it gets worse from here. The catalytic converter, it does a few things, I guess, but one of its main functions is it heats up and burns the excess gas off before it exits the tailpipe and causes climate change. Guess what we have to do to keep that catalytic converter hot enough, to keep it hot enough to burn off the excess gas? We have to cycle the engine rich and lean to keep the catalytic converter soaked in gas so that it can continue to burn and stay hot. So think about this. When you're cruising out on the freeway, and this is when it happens, you're just driving along thinking, oh man, I'm out here on the freeway. I'm just cruising. I'm getting the best mileage I can get. No. That's when the most difficult for the catalytic converter to work, because you're just cruising, the engine's running lean, there's no excess fuel in the exhaust getting burnt off, keeping it hot. The computer basically tells the engine that you're going wide open throttle, and it pulses. So it just constantly pulses on, off, rich, back to the cruising lean condition, rich, cruising lean condition. And it's just every time it goes rich, it's just dumping an excessive amount of fuel into the engine for the sole purpose of warming up the catalytic converter so that it can burn off the excess gas that you don't fucking have right now. You have these devices on your car that literally require extra fuel so that they can burn off the excess fuel so they can stop climate change, which was probably brought on by witches and lizard people metaphorically going out and changing the climate. The other thing you got is there's natural climate change, which would make sense. Again, I think climate change is real. It's just not for the same reasons that you might think that it's real or not real. You'll have little girls holding up signs and getting fake arrested by the police. You'll have people sitting on the road stopping you in traffic so you can sit there and idle and waste even more fuel while they protest climate change and do not offer any actual solutions. Do not understand what the fuck they are talking about. How dare you? You know, she only ever gives speeches. She doesn't interact in debate. She just goes off on rants. I mean, another thing that contributes to climate change is probably people and all the bullshit we put in the water. I mean, not even the elites, not even the evil. All kinds of runoff, shit going in the water. Chemicals change boiling point, evaporation. You know, what temperature can freeze at, just like those enzymes. Bruh, everybody dumping their used oil and old gasoline out next to the fucking river for 100 years, oh, more than 100, for a long time. You know, that used to be what everybody did. You know, how about all the soap we put in the water? All these things contribute. What happened to the hole in the ozone layer? Who remembers that? Put your hand up. It told us that by cleaning our computers with a can of duster that we were making the hole in the ozone bigger. So the ozone should be fucking gone then, right?